So learn quickly, they'll come for your blow. Games get played, can't take it personal.
Cause the devil is a lie, telling you the truth, it's all in what you do, the things you gotta do, Hey, barbershop conversation, guys. Feel free, hit the subscribe button. So these next 3 videos I'm about to do is important. We go live. Kennedy, close the door. We go live 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And Kennedy, close the door. Anyhow, so we go live 9 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We have Sergeant LAPD Zone, retired LAPD Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey in the building tonight. And these next 3 videos is probably culminating to what a lot of this channel is what I speak of on this channel a lot. Now we all saw the DAZN problems. They had a furlough in June and May or July, and now they had layoffs, and Canelo is suing DAZN and Golden Boy, and they haven't released a schedule. Now, with all that being said, I want to put y'all up on game. I want to put y'all up on the true term of betting on yourself. And this is just an option. Now, I'm just going to talk about some options that I see, and this is just Fred just being a great businessman. You know, this is Fred turning an unemployment check into a multi-dollar real estate portfolio. You know, this is Fred turning student loans, losing scholarship money into a college degree, just hustling his way through, you know, and learning the game on your own. And now I got 25 years of hustling on my own. I moved out of my mom's house at 17 and ain't looked back. 25 years, exactly. And betting on yourself. Now, you got a couple options that I'm going to share with you, and hopefully it makes sense. Now, if you proceed to go with as business as usual, politics as usual, you have every right to do that. I would suggest that both fighters get a large advance, and a large advance and a deadline to void the contract. So to void the contract, it would be December 31st. That would be a good date, right? December 31st to void all contracts and put the language in there so you're not liable for. There's no payback. There's no period. They're obligated to put this fight up before December 31st. And the reason why that's important is because I'm not sure the financial stability of DAZN. They've been pretty volatile, as I predicted from day one. I told everyone that will listen to me, but that's an upcoming video. I just want to make this about this. Now, the second component, which is really, really important, which makes a whole lot of sense, is the logistics of truly, truly betting on yourself and putting this fight on pay-per-view. And you say, how, Fred? Gary Russell and Devin Haney put up their own money. They put up their own money. And I'm just looking at it from it'll probably cost you about $300,000, $300,000 to $400,000 to put this event on, because you need 3 fights. You can go with 4 fights, or you can go with 3 fights, you know, the preliminary, the co-main, and the main event. And if it's open, you probably go to a 4th fight and have a local kid, 2 local kids come in and fight, and hopefully you can get 1,500 tickets sold by 1,500 tickets sold by them. And there's no middleman. You pay no percentages, and you pay no taxes. I'll explain that in my Patreon. Feel free to subscribe to my Patreon and ask that question. You can show a complete loss on this. And it wasn't profitable. Now, moving forward, you put up, let's say, $300,000, right? Team Haney puts up $150. Team Russell puts up 150. They go through logistics and they bet on the 10,000 people that was in Fanon's live. They bet on the 14,000 people that was in my live when Gary Russell came on. You understand what I'm saying? You do stuff like that and you see where you are. Now, I did the math really quick. If you sell it a pay-per-view for $50, I wouldn't go above $50. You know, we're in a real scarcity in terms of people's money. And to break even, you need 10,000 pay-per-views. That's $500,000. To break even, you need 10,000 pay-per-view buys. Get out of your head, you need 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. Remember, when you get 1.5 million pay-per-view buys, it's a 50-50 split between the cable network and the promoters. And the promoters split that 50% up upon the percentages that they negotiate. Remember that 70-40, that 70-30, 60-40 comes out of 50% of the money. Okay. So when you guys are watching Floyd Mayweather carry around $100 million check, he wrote that to himself for advertising marketing purposes. I'm not saying he didn't make it, but you know, don't believe the hype. don't, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, understand this. You take the promoter out of the equation, you take the advisor out of the equation, you take the network out of the equation, and you own everything. They may try and sabotage you now because you're creating the model in real time, what they don't want you to know. Now, you already got a marketing arm, you know what I mean, which will charge you pennies on the dollar to promote the fight, and that's the LDBC, you know what I mean, because we want this to succeed for long term, for long term. You understand what I'm saying? But I think if you can get 20,000 pay-per-view buys at minimum, that's $1 million. You know what I mean? Y'all split that. You know what I mean? It don't seem like a lot, but just think 20,000 people to buy it. You understand that $50 but you believe you can get more. It's going to take some marketing. It's going to take understanding of what the date should be. You understand what I'm saying? It's it's really, really important. And understand, when you do this, ESPN is going to put a fight date on your date, and PBC is going to put a fight date on your date because they want to sabotage to keep themselves in business, because this is business now. All right. So understand the same things that I go through on a personal. Lincoln, close my door. The same thing. Appreciate you, King. So at the end of the day, the same struggles that I go through as a media member, as being 100% independent, not dependent upon anybody or anyone to get my job done, is the reason why I don't have credentials. I don't not have them because I'm not I'm not what's the term? White man approved. Y'all see these fucking degrees, you know what I mean? Y'all see these $1,000 paintings behind me, man. I have more than enough aptitude to do my job as a journalist. But what they don't want you to do is educate and elevate. You understand? The air quotes DB, the dumb population that they're talking to, because boxing is a dumb and poor man's sport from its origin. Okay. And what I mean by origin is you don't see many college degrees and masters and PhDs and people who and families who have successful entrepreneur businesses becoming fighters. You understand what I'm saying? So what I mean by that is, as the fighter grows, so does his team. And typically the fighter's first contract is the manager, and more than likely the father's first negotiated contract. So what they do, they lean on a man that's already been there. And who is he typically? Because they got reparations, right, from multiple countries, like this Jewish bald man with the landing strip. You understand what I'm saying? And it just becomes this repetitive cycle. Now we have a chance for long-term stability. Master P did it. You know what I mean? You're going to have some hiccups. You may not win on your first attempt. You may only make 30, 40, 50, $60,000. And you're like, man, I should have took that 1.5. I should have. Yeah, that's bet on yourself, man. Bet on yourself. Long term will have great benefits. You understand what I'm saying? You'll know the logistics. You could turn that into a promotional company. You could turn that into an advisory company. You don't need a network. You understand? And people gonna say you only did 50,000, but you're keeping 100% of the profits. It doesn't matter what ESPN and PBC did on the Deontay Wilder. They had to split that 50-50. And then they had to get taxed on it. And then they had to pay for auditors and accountants and managers and promoters and advisors and everything else. Imagine if Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder say, you know what? We're going to do this shit on our own. Hey, MGM, we need everything for free because we are going to bring 15,000 people, 15,000 adults with expository income. And we want this building for free. We want everything. We want everything logistical that comes with this fight for free. And we can guarantee you 15,000 people will show up. Affluent. And a certain percentage of them will be affluent. So understand that. They don't want you to understand how easy it is. It's so easy to put on these events, just like me. You don't know how easy it is to how many interviews have we had since the quarantine started? 80% of our 70%, 65% of our days on this on our platform at our podcast at 9. And I say our because everyone that hears my ears, hears my voice is a producer of this show. You know what I mean? You may have a friend, you may have a cousin or auntie or uncle who can elevate us, and including you, right? So we're all producers, okay? So make sure you put that shit on your resume. Producer of the barbershop, the barbershop conversation podcast. Everyone is a producer. Put that shit on your resume and say it proudly. You know what I mean? And but they don't want you to know this because who would know? Who knew? Hey, turn 7 to a 14, 14 to a whole thing. Come on, Nip, man. Nip, it's funny how you don't even think about Nip, but his teachings comes to life when you're talking about real shit. I wasn't even thinking about Nip, and who knew, you know? But who knew that you don't need a credential to be more successful as a media member? I am more successful now not having a credential, paying my 50, 70, 100, sometimes $500 for a ticket to get into a fight. Deontay Wilder was $500, I think, to get into that fight. Who knew that I would be more successful? I can go ringside and interview as many people as I want to as a fan. They cannot stop me from interviewing because I am a fan. I can pick up my camera and interview anybody, anyone I want to. Real spill. I have the biggest competitive advantage in media. They can't tell me what to do and what not to do. Now they can try and attempt to stick some police on me, but what I do, I just get a room in the main hotel. You know what I mean? And they can't do that because I'll just file a lawsuit against motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Discriminatory practices. And I'll have proof because I have recorded everything. My camera is always hot. You know what I mean? But anyhow, man, as I digress, and I said all that to make the larger point larger. You have the option to bet on yourself. Now I'm talking on a smaller scale, media, making a few $1,000s a month being a media member versus making millions of dollars, but it's the same module. It's the same rubric. It's the same logistics. You may have more pieces inside the circumference of those logistics, but it's the same concepts. You got to take in mind, I spent 3 years with Master P. And I seen him bet on himself. I seen Master P go high, go low in real time. You know what I mean? I've had great conversations with Rome, you know what I mean, in terms of building the business and the struggles and in terms of Rome's basically mentor for 3 years. We would talk about everything, and I'm forever grateful for that because that spirit that I saw in Master P hustling I mean, you talk about protecting his kids. Nobody does it better, man. For real. That nigga would show up unannounced 4 times a day. You know what I mean? I ain't lying. Swear to God. You know what I mean? And he always had a child with him. Master P always had a child with him and a security guard. You know what I mean? Just for real. He was straight hustler. Real spill. And but I want y'all to think about that. The options. You know what I mean? Um it's gonna be some resistance. But you can put it in a high school arena and no one would ever know. You can put it in a high school gymnasium, no one will ever know. And what's that, $10,000 to do that? You know what I mean? And because all you need is the posters now and the lighting. You know what I mean? And they going and ESPN and PBC and whoever else is gonna try and get in your way and say, oh, we're renting for the day. Similar to the way Al Heyman did Oscar De La Hoya by renting out motherfucking what's that shit? StubHub and all that shit, and they had to do a fight in Verona, New York. Y'all remember that shit? It was a good fight too, and they had to do that shit in Verona, New York. How crazy is that shit? Al Heyman did a fight at 12 o'clock noon just so Oscar can go to Verona, New York, if I'm not mistaken, or put a deposit down. You know, it's competitive. You got to respect the competitiveness. You understand? It's fucked up how it looks like I got a Donald Trump picture in my damn, and I'm looking at the framing, and I got to fix that framing because people gonna think I'm a supporter of Donald Trump and shit. Yeah, I already know what it looks like if you've been in the barbershop with me, but I got to reframe this shit. I just saw it right now. I got to reframe this shit. But at the end of the day, man, bet on yourselves, okay? Bet on yourselves, and but I like me in on the third of the frame. I like that look. So, anyways, who gives a fuck? Y'all know I ain't fucking with Donald Trump. But yeah, man, it's a great video. You know, Gary Russell, Devin Haney. The easy thing to do is to sign the contract, but you can't sign that without a date. You need a date. You need a venue. You need a large advance, and the large advance is contingent upon the DAZN fulfilling what they agreed to. You know what I mean? And if you pull out, you obviously have to pay the money back. You understand? But you know, knowing these two guys, they 15 pounds. Well, Devin Haney is probably 15, 17 pounds from fighting weight. He stays in the gym. He's about 2 weeks from not eating from making weight. Gary Russell was already on the weight at 35. All he got to do is miss dinner. So understand the business of it. You're going to get great resistance. Mainstream media is going to go against you. Will it work? Gary Russell versus Devin Haney versus the big guys. You understand? You only need 50,000 people to buy it. Think about that. You only need 50,000 people to buy it. You understand? And you got to do some preliminary sales. You got to go to all these markets. You got to go to all these radio stations, all these podcasts. And you genuinely gonna need a guy like me. Like, you genuinely gonna need a guy like me who's retired, who's affluent on his own, who can allocate a lot of time and make pennies so you can make millions. But I want to be a part of this because I know the long-term effect. You understand? I know the long-term benefits of this. How Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua can be without those landing strips in the middle. We ain't gotta park our airplane on their landing strip. You know what I mean? Read between the line. Ha ha. You know what I mean? No longer. We ain't gotta do that shit. Yeah, you're gonna need a lawyer. You're gonna need an advisor like Al Heyman to look over the contracts. You pay that nigga a flat fee. What lawyer ain't gonna take $15,000 to look over contracts he done seen every day of his life for 20 years? It's about independence. It's about freedom. Y'all saw Black Panther. Y'all saw Sankofa. Y'all saw all these slave movies. Is it about independence? Or is it about dependence? which side are you on? Shout out to Tupac. You know what I mean? So anyhow, man, I got 2 more videos coming today, man. I think that they are very much important. And huh. Hmm. Oh shit. Hmm. I'm getting some good text this morning. Barbershop conversations, man. Fighters texting me. Feel free. Hit the subscribe button. And talk to you guys soon. Peace.